time to get to a review I've been working on, putting off for months now. As far as I know, it's been requested more than anything probably in the past year, except of course for quitting YouTube altogether. The Emisar D4, which is a compact everyday carry flashlight that costs about $40, and $2 more if you want a pocket clip for the pocketable flashlight. Now, maybe you think it's taken me months because of all the testing and the comprehensiveness of the review, but I really don't want to give that impression. The Emisar D4 is a quad LED emitter, pocketable light made by the same company that made the Noctagon Meteor, with firmware programmed by Toykeeper and Tom E., which are members of Budget Lightform and Flashlight Geniuses. It takes a single high-drain lithium-ion battery in the 18650 size, or smaller if you purchase different battery tube extensions. And the light can either be purchased from International Outdoors or Mountain Electronics, which I will link in the description. Or you could just know someone who owns it and steal it from them. It comes only with spare O-rings. Pocket clips and a smaller extension tube or tubes are sold separately. The smaller battery tubes allow you to run smaller lithium-ion batteries, which can make the light and run times shorter. Also, no damn lanyard. It's made from aluminum and comes in several colors and emitter options for different tints and brightnesses. My version is the Nichia 219C version, and I chose it because of the high CRI, or a real good color rendering. And as far as value for the money, it's probably the finest everyday carry light you can buy at this price or less, namely because of its great range and brightness, small size, easy to use operation, and because I've been drinking. Cool, end of review. Just kidding, it's going to be real long. Let's look at the output levels. Get out now! My estimated numbers and the manufacturers are on the screen. The Emisar D4 has a ramping brightness scale, meaning no traditional individual modes like low, medium, and high. It has its lowest level, which is moonlight-ish mode, and it's about a 3/4 of a lumen. And then if you press and hold, it goes all the way up to its maximum brightness. That's actually a really large range for such a tiny light. Remember, ANSI standards state that brightness and throw should be measured at 30 seconds in. However, I have included startup and 30 seconds in. This light is tiny, has an insane amount of brightness, and begins stepping down not soon after you hit the on button, unless of course you follow the firmware instructions and set the temperature threshold higher. I measured how it comes from the factory. Okay, the user interface. Make sure you put the positive end of the battery facing the part where the light comes out. If you have the battery in backwards for an extended period of time, it will damage your light, and also you're an idiot. There are battery check modes, momentary modes, lockouts, thermal programming that will allow you to change the amount of time before the light steps down on turbo, or the temperature actually. But you can figure all those out from the basic instructions all by yourself. The quick press turns on and off the light, like this. It will turn on in the last mode you used, typically called mode memory, unless of course you decide to access a shortcut. Press and hold for a shortcut to get to moonlight from off. It's great because you can always access the lowest mode and not have to guess which mode it was on last time you used it, which sounds like it's the least interesting guessing game ever. And then you just work up to a brighter mode. Now to get to turbo, from off or on, just double click at any time. Again, easy access to the highest brightness. For regular operation, press once until it turns on. And the last mode you use, and press and hold, and it goes up the brightness scale. Once it reaches the highest level, it just stops. Release and then press and hold again, and it goes all the way down and stops. If at any time when going up or down the brightness scale to go the opposite direction, release quickly and press and hold again to go the opposite way. But of course you could always release the button at any time once you find your desired level of brightness. If you have released the button for more than 2 seconds and then press and hold it again, it will go the way you were going to begin with. This is about as easy and intuitive the operation for a flashlight can get, unless of course you count no flashlight. And if you think otherwise, you're wrong. The light uses an electronic switch, meaning it's always in a standby mode. So if you'd like to lock it out mechanically when it's in a pocket or a bag, give the tail cap a slight turn. Hint, you should always do this. That way it doesn't turn on by accident and literally burn a hole through your pocket. Okay, runtime. For this test I used an unprotected Samsung 18650 30Q 3000 mAh battery with a flat top. Use high-drain batteries in this light only. Most protected cells won't fit because of the length. I heard someone say a 69.5mm length cell will not fit. In fact, if you don't own a Samsung 30Q, you should. Here are the listed batteries that work with this light that I pulled off of Mountain Electronics website. If the battery you own is not in this list, you just need to buy one and stop arguing. I buy about 80% of my batteries from Mountain Electronics and the rest from a vape shop next to the liquor store and sex shop. Alright, the D4 steps down. Since it doesn't have individual brightness levels, I only tested turbo. I promise this review will be long enough anyway. But when you upload your video review, you can do as many run times as you want and become more famous and more powerful than I ever have been. And this frame is a lux meter and shows the light drop. At startup, I measured 3,330 lumens. At a minute in, thermal throttling is working overdrive and we hit 870 lumens. 2 minutes, 165 lumens. If you want longer, brighter sustained brightness levels, start out on low and work up to the brightness you need. You don't need 3,300 lumens, I'm sorry. At about 20 minutes in, we're still at 165 lumens, and then you'll see it starts to get brighter slowly. It takes a while to shed that heat. You can always set your temperature threshold higher too. The rule of thumb is whatever you can barely hold. At an hour and 15 minutes in, we're back at about 270 lumens. Again, I'm estimating based on lux conversions here and my tested outputs on maximum. I find most of my use in flashlights is 300 lumens or less, and I don't use the extreme brightness much. Also, if you use it in colder climates and different ambient temperatures, performance and step downs will be different. Brightness has been gradually fluctuating up and down. In 2 hours, we're somewhere around 230 lumens. As time passes, and we get older, and some people die, brightness drops and gains, and 5 hours in, we're about 230 lumens. Battery juice is getting low, and we drop down to where I can't read the light meter anymore. I would guess under 10 lumens, I don't know. And someone's like, thumbs down. Time drags on, we're close to 7 hours, it's sub-moonlight, and I end the test at 7 hours 34 minutes with battery voltage about 2.9 volts. The light basically drops down to give you emergency light. It does have low voltage protection. However, I didn't test to see how many hours that took. Supposedly, once it gets below 2.8, the light cuts off. Beam shots. For this section, I will compare the light to many of today's most popular and reviewed everyday carry lights, which I own because I am rich and I also got some for free. Okay, I'm not rich. Rich people don't waste their money on this many of the same things. First up, unless it's Ferraris. First up is the Emisar D4. Remember, children, this light is small, puts out more light than any light this size should, so it steps down fast, because it gets hot. I would describe the tint as fairly neutral, with not much tint shift across the beam, with no warmth to my eyes. Mine is the 219C version, which is reported to be about 5,000 Kelvin color temperature and 90 CRI. Next up is my new Zebralight SC600 FC Mark IV Plus, which is a warmer tinted light and a mouthful to say, and also about 4,000 Kelvin color temperature. Very bright. I prefer the tint on the Zebralight, which is just like my opinion, man. And the Zebralight has a slightly lower moonlight mode. Slightly larger in your hand too. Both are floody-ish lights and I like both almost equally. Next is the Olight S2 Copper. This is another light I like, probably my favorite looking flashlight, but it's also heavy in a cool white. And I don't like cooler white tints as much as neutral or warm tints. Back to the Emisar for a minute. I mean, not a full minute because that would just be padding a review and I haven't done that, have I? Next is my old favorite everyday carry light, the Zebralight SC600 HI, which is a throwier light, a bit more useful when you need to see things further away. Usually the tighter and denser the hotspot, the better the beam travels. Also, I like the tint on this one. Back to the floodier Emisar, which is better for close-up work. Now the Nikkor MH20 GT. This one is throwier than even the Zebralight SC600W Mark III HI. Mark III HI. Because it uses a throwier emitter and has a bigger reflector. When I say throwy, I mean in this class light. I don't mean flashlights in general. These are good for a few 100 feet at most. If you want more throw than that, look for lights 100,000 candela or higher-ish. Now the BLF A6. Remember this one? This light has a warm tint that I really like. However, because it has a mechanical switch, it's not possible to have instant access to turbo or moonlight both. You can turn off mode memory and always start on low, but then you have to press and hold to get to turbo. Whatever. I've always liked zebra lights because of the shortcuts to the modes I like, so the Emisar D4 is pretty close to one of those. Yeah, how about the Zebralight SC5 Mark II? Just to give you a frame of reference for a lower lumen light, nice warm tint. How about some of my other quad emitter lights, the Astrolux S41? You can stop watching at any time, I promise. This light has a slightly larger flood than the Emisar because of the different optics or lenses. It's nice and neutral. Also has niches. And just to test your patience, here is a split screen between the two zebra lights, the Emisar and the Astrolux. I stopped down the camera so you could see the beam profile better, note the flood on the sides, and the intensity of the center. Compare which one you like better. Report back. Okay, we're done. Let's wrap it up. I've had this light for a few months now, as evidenced by the part where I'm putting up my Christmas lights. Or maybe I'm just really early. I've dropped it many times and it still works great. It puts out an insane amount of light for being so small. However, since it heats up fast, it's real short-lived. Sound familiar? Think of the turbo as a burst mode only, to be used for a few seconds. The good news is there's lower levels for all those other times, like breaking and entering. In most instances, 300 lumens is a good high for me, as is 100. Close-up stuff, maybe 10 lumens or less. However, it's there when you need it. If you need a light that can sustain 1000 lumens, buy a bigger one. The light is waterproof and dustproof to IPX67 standards. Now, that's like bad weather, rain, snow, sleet, ice, and shallow temporary submersions of 1 meter of non-corrosive fluids or less. It's flexible and can use multiple sizes of batteries if you purchase the tubes. Make sure you buy the pocket clip too. I used a Convoy S2 pocket clip and it works okay, but I should have bought the one made for it. I accidentally ordered it, not paying attention, but that's a terrible story. Also, the anodization on the lens bezel isn't quite the same color as the rest of the light, and the whole light has a nice matte, tacky anodization. I don't really give an F about the different color anodization, but I've seen people argue about it for pages and days on the internet. I wish I were joking. Look for my Zebralight SC600 Mark IV review coming up soon, which will surely be just as long, as well as my BLF GT review. Hopefully, unless I lose interest and I don't review either one of them, and that's possible. If you like outdoor gear reviews, subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment, and thanks for sitting through a flashlight review. Hopefully you've been drinking. Links to places to purchase a slider below, as well as the fan fiction thread over on BLF. Budget Light Forum. Thanks for watching.